this summer. Things are moving slow, and time to unwind only.
Good morning. I tried to fix my sleeping schedule. It was really difficult, but anyway, okay. Today I'm going to be answering your questions about JC. Yeah. So how did you map out your JC journey from J1 to J2? Was there any concrete plans as to where to go or the end goal? And what do you think is the balance between having a good portfolio and not being too caught up in curating accolades for the sake of it? I'm going to answer like the first two parts first. I didn't map out my JC journey because I'm not someone who had this like big goal of like entering X university or like getting X scholarship. Yeah, I just went in there like, okay, let's make the best of these 2 years. I wanted to make new friends, grow as a person, and I guess I just wanted to do well enough to get into like whatever university of my choice and like the course I wanted to study, which I didn't know yet. So I just wanted to like generically do well enough to be able to have options, which yeah, I guess I did manage to do, so yay. The balance between having a good portfolio and not being too caught up, oof, this one is a really good one. So at the very baseline, I feel like it has to be something that is interesting to me, that I'm passionate about, and I feel genuine going into. Yeah, but that's just me, because I totally understand and I can see someone who doesn't exactly have all those interests, but they have this like goal of going somewhere and they still need to create a good portfolio. So it's a little bit extreme to have to be like, oh, you have to be like 100% passionate about it, otherwise you can't pursue it, because sometimes you have to create opportunities for yourself. If I had to put myself in that position, for instance, if I'm going to take up a leadership position, I want it to be in a community that I genuinely want to serve. If I'm volunteering, the beneficiary that I'm serving, do I have the necessary skill set to serve them? Do I have the time to really commit to serving them on a regular basis, you know? And like academic competitions, am I interested in this subject? Does it excite me enough to want to spend extra time researching on it? All these are things that will matter to me, and I feel like they are important when you try and pursue anything, because it's not just something that goes onto your portfolio, it actually has an impact on those around you. So even as I'm curating my portfolio, I want to be genuine in my intentions and putting out more good than doing harm to them, because I'm not actually interested in it and I'm just like doing it for the sake of doing it. So I feel like at the very baseline, there needs to be interest and some kind of passion for whatever it is that you're doing. Also, that's just something that will be good for yourself, because if not, you're gonna feel burnt out and resentful doing whatever it is that you signed up for, which is just not great anyway. How to balance not overworking or overstudying because you don't want to peak too early, but also studying the right amount consistently. Yeah, this one is definitely a valid concern, even though I was not worrying about peaking too early, I was worrying about peaking at all. I think it's good to have long-term plans. Make sure you're spacing out your syllabus, and if you're able to finish it right around like before prelims, and you're transitioning into just doing practice papers and memorizing content that you've already prepared, then I think that's a pretty good gauge. I guess you can compare with your friends in terms of like how far along they are in their studies and how many hours you're studying, even though I think, you know, different people learn differently, so it might take longer for you, it might take a shorter time for them, and vice versa. But sometimes it's just good to get like a gauge of generally how the peers around you are doing. At prelims and you're scoring B's or C's, that is pretty good. You just need to work a little bit harder leading up to like the study leave period and before A's to do more practices, and you should safely be able to get an A. Yeah, I can't promise you anything, but that was kind of how it was for me. How did you motivate yourself? Motivation for studying, especially on days where you do not want to do work. yeah, motivation is a flaky friend. You can't rely on motivation to do work. I think you already know that, that's why you sent that in. And I mentioned this previously, but whenever I wasn't feeling motivated, I would reorganize what I was going to do for the day, and I would start out with something that's easier so I don't feel as like annoyed that I have to study. So for instance, I'm going to be writing an essay that morning and then revising notes in the afternoon. I would maybe decide to revise notes first in the morning because I don't want to be using my brain to like write an essay when I already don't feel like doing anything at all. Like reading through content and revising content is just so much easier. And then because I'm doing that and I'm still like studying and I'm still working, in a way it gets my head working, and then by working slowly sometimes I won't be able to fall back into like the rhythm of studying and I feel better. Sometimes it really is just sheer grit. You really don't feel like studying, but there's no time and there's no choice really, so you just have to be disciplined enough to sit yourself down and do work. Even though I know it's not the best feeling, you're gonna come out of it more thankful that you did. How did I manage between my commitments and studying? I want to say that I didn't manage. Okay, let me give you some context. In my J2 year, I was very overcommitted. I was in 2 CCAs and it was also my school's centennial like celebrations, so we had a musical, I had SYF going on, and I'm in this like leadership CCA where we have to plan like large scale events for students. So I was very busy, and for a period of time I think I was sleeping like 3 to 4 hours every single day because we had rehearsals till late in the night, and I also had more work to do for my other CCAs and stuff like that. So I'm gonna be real, I dropped studying like a hot potato. Just for a period of time, I was solely invested in my extracurriculars, and I wouldn't recommend that. I really wouldn't. I would say that your studies should still come first. That seriously gave me a lot of backlog, and I was struggling quite a bit to catch up. And yeah, it wrecked me like mentally and physically as well. Okay, sorry, I just went into a whole like a whole pity party about managing between your commitments and studying. I think talking to your teachers made a huge difference for me, letting them know where I was at, how I was feeling, and how I'm struggling to manage, and they are so understanding and they will follow up with me going for consultations and things like that. So that helped me a lot in terms of managing. Yeah, sometimes you just need to know to prioritize. So if your competition is coming right up, it's okay to let go of your studies for a bit, and then once you're free of CCA, make sure you spend the extra time that you have now to catch up on whatever that you missed, and it should be okay. Oh, and also I only managed because I had a friend who, like I mentioned in the previous video, he was making notes with me, so he was really just super supportive and there to help me out whenever I was struggling with acads. And yeah, how do you do for A-levels? That's between me and this beautiful file here, my gift from the Ministry of Education. Yes. Do you apply for scholarships? Yes, I applied for the NUS Merit Scholarship, and in NTU I applied for the 9am Scholarship and NTU USP Scholarship, but I am not going to local schools, so yeah. How I studied for ELL. Yes, I know this one is a really difficult one. Yeah, so for ELL, what worked for me in the end was that for paper 1, where you're supposed to be discussing written versus spoken discourse, I came up with a whole table of typical linguistic devices and their effects. For paper 2, I made summaries of all the readings that we were given. From it, I will pick out the points and examples to be used in essays. And from then on, it's just doing lots of essay practices to see if you can apply it, if you can contextualize it, because for ELL, you can't rote memorize anything because every piece of discourse is different, and you need to be able to understand the context, the audience, the purpose, and from there apply what you know of the linguistic devices to explain the meaning that it's making. So I know it's difficult, but EL is one that really takes a lot of practice and also a good foundation in terms of knowing your linguistic devices. And I study for history. So for history, you know, there's the SPQ portion and there's the essay portion. For SPQ, you want to have timelines ready, because when you're looking at the sources and the provenance, you want to be able to know like this, what happened before and what happened after, so that you can contextualize it and you can explain why someone is saying something. You also need contextual knowledge. It honestly 2 to 3 lines maximum. Know how to shorten it, do practices to get a sense of how much you need to write. Honestly, what's more important is that you do cross-referencing and see how the sources work together as a set to prove a certain point. For essays, I made my notes in table format. So one would be like the different factors that usually you will rotate around when writing your essay, and the other one will be like different case studies. I wrote lots of essays on each different subtopic, so I would have a gist of like what happened across all the different ones, so that no matter what essay comes out, I have some content to write. When you mentioned digital notes, was it all done on Google Docs, even note-taking? Yes, I did everything on Google Docs. So for note-taking, I had a folder for tutorials, and then each tutorial I would go in, open a new document, and then put down the date of the tutorial and what we were covering, and then I would just type in it throughout the session. Another option is I would just make one big document for all tutorials, and then when I went in the next class, I would create a line break, put the date at the very beginning, and then start typing. Both works, it's up to you. Yeah. The A-levels are so tough. Sci-fi, the COVID situation isn't helping either. I know, I really like feel for you guys. I am so sorry that your final year or your last 2 years in formal education is looking like this so far. Yeah, A-levels are definitely no easy task. I hope that with the new arrangement, term 3 will be more effective in terms of your studying. Try not to panic, because you still have time. Okay, you definitely still have time to work on whatever it is you need to work on, and yeah, lots of room for improvement here. You can do it. I'm already J2, but the May holidays only have a week left and I haven't started revising seriously at all. And I am incredibly stressed. Do you have any advice? Okay, so you know when I made that like studying how I studied for A-levels video, that is me in hindsight painting a really rosy picture of what good studying looked like, because that is genuinely what I did and what worked for me. But what I didn't show you was what didn't work for me and all the times that I struggled with studying. And I have to say that I feel you on this, like the stress and it being like the June holidays and not revising yet. It's okay, because when I was in June, even though I was studying, at the point in time I was suffering from severe burnout. I was working like from the bottom to get back to like being able to study, to be able to focus, and that is a struggle. I was not at my peak, like oh just like studying all the time and like doing my best. I was doing my best, but I was not in the best state of mind. Try not to focus on your stress. Try to channel that into planning and working, figuring out a plan for the next few months. As I mentioned, there still is time and you can catch up no matter where you're at currently.
I can't help but wonder.
Okay, thank you for watching. That is all from me today. I hope that this has been helpful for you, and if you have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comments, or if you're shy, you can DM me on Instagram or drop me an email. Everything will be in the description box, and yeah. Okay, peace out. Hope you guys have a good start to your new term. How do you study for math? I didn't take math.